Welcome to this webinar. I kindly ask, yes, the control. Thank you so much. Welcome to this Empowering Mission Soil Applicants webinar series. Today, we are gonna have our second webinar, which is related to aligning 2025 Living Labs proposal with mission objective and soil monitoring law. I am Lorenzo Labellate. I will moderate this webinar. Before starting, just a couple of information for you. As already told you, the session is recorded and the recording will be available soon online on our web pages. So have a look at it. We have a dedicated box you can use for your questions. We will try to answer all your questions directly in the box, or they will be answered in the dedicated Q&A session. Please be aware that all the slides and the presentations are licensed. You can access also the copy of these licenses at the following website. Let's now present today's session. We will start with Dolinda Cavallo, which will present what is soil and the support that the project gives to applicants. Then we will dive into mission soil in the EU policy landscape by Tyler Arbor. We will talk about the key objective and targets of the missions by Saskia Kestra. Then we will talk about with the Caroline Einzel for the soil monitoring law. And then we will have practical experience from a funded living lab, which is Greek Farming Living Lab, which will be presented by Professor Thomas Bartsanas. Thank you for joining, Thomas. And then the last session will be dedicated to the Q&A. I will now give the floor to Dolinda, and thank you again for joining. Sorry, Dolinda, you're muted.
Can you hear me now? Yes, thanks. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar. I'm Dolinda Cavallo. I am from the soil coordinating team, and now I will give you an overview on what soil is and what kind of support soil provides to applicants. Soil is a comprehensive support framework that aims to, first of all, support and onboard future applicants, specific for the dedicated Living Labs topic to set up soil living labs. It also aims to empower existing mission soil living labs by providing tools, training, and enhance their impact and scalability. It aims to engage with the wider soil community, so all the stakeholders related to soil and working towards soil health, and also to foster a collaborative ecosystem, so engaging with all other stakeholders to co-create solutions and address soil health challenges. Soil is a framework partnership agreement that runs from 2024 until 2030, and it is implemented through several projects, starting with Soil Startup, that is the project that is organizing this webinar. After Soil Startup will follow Soil Step Up and Soil Scale Up. And thanks to a multidisciplinary partnership that Soil gathers, Soil is supporting the Living Labs and all the stakeholders through three main teams: the Living Labs and concept and methods, living soil technical team, and transversal and cross-cutting aspects. Soil is targeting several groups. The first one being the mission soil living labs and lighthouses, so the living labs that are funded through dedicated mission soil topics. Then the applicants that are interested to apply to the specific mission soil topics to set up soil health living labs and lighthouses. But then other living labs initiatives as the European Soil Living Labs and Lighthouses, that are the living labs who align to the mission soil criteria, but they're not funded under the mission soil. And also the emerging soil and living labs and lighthouses that are the potential initiatives that not align yet to the mission soil criteria. But of course, soil is also targeting a wider soil community, so all the stakeholders that are willing to collaborate with the soil living labs and lighthouses. Soil offer a wide range of support to all this target group, starting from coordination and support, training and capacity building, engagement and promotion to foster collaboration and visibility of the living lab, and also monitoring and evaluation to make sure that the living labs and the lighthouses continue their growth and reach a higher level of maturity. We also foster knowledge exchange and networking activities. And then we have also set up a soil hub that is a platform where all the target group of soil can interact, and where also is it possible to know more about the funded mission soil living labs and lighthouses. This image, this map provides you an overview of the first mission soil living labs, being the ones funded in the first wave, but also the second wave. And later in this webinar, we will also have an overview of one of the first mission soil living labs funded in 2024. Concerning the support that soil provides to applicants, here you can have an overview of all the services that you can access to if you're interested to apply for the new funding opportunity to set up soil living labs and lighthouses. The first one is the help desk, that is a support center of support where you can share your questions and we will come back to you. You can access the help desk through the Soil app, and that we will share the link in the chat later. And you can also access the FAQ, so the questions that are frequently asked that can help you to develop your proposal. Then we have a list of mentors, national mentors, who can support you and guide you specifically in developing your individual proposal. And you can find the mentors in your country through the QR code that you can see in the slides. And the mentors have been trained through some specific training to specifically support the applicants interested in applying to the Living Labs topic. Then we have the matchmaking platform. So this is a platform that we have set up to facilitate the consortia creation. You can register, and in this platform you can also join other proposals or find a potential partner. And then we have the thematic events. The thematic events are hybrid events touching several topics, but where we also explain the funding opportunity to set up mission soil living labs, and where also participants can attend the pitching session to find partners or present their proposal. And the next events will be on the 24th of June, so tomorrow, from the ground up, citizen cultivating soil health. And then, of course, we are organizing a series of webinars. We already had a webinar last week with the participation of representatives from DG Agri and REA, where we have actually already the recording available for you. Today we are having the second webinar, and next week we will have the last webinar on Monday, 30th of June, on the topic of designing impactful living labs and consortia. Finally, we have some resources available for you that you can access through our website or the hub as guidelines for and recommendation on how to strengthen your application, but also fact sheet that will help you develop your proposal and have a better understanding on the Living Labs topic. And with this, I end my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dolinda. I thank you for this kind of presentation. I invite all the participants to join our platforms and to keep updated there. Also, because there is the possibility to to have a matchmaking with other potential applicants, so it will be very relevant for you for the support. Now I will give the floor to Tyler Arbor, which will talk about emission soil in the EU policy landscape and the Living Labs topics. The floor is yours. Thank you.
All right, thank you much. Hope you can hear me well. I'm work with Soil Startup and with IFOAM Organics Europe, so based in Brussels. And so I think before I dive into sort of the EU policy, the different strategies and programs, I think I want to remind you why I want to tell you about this, why we want to tell you is, I think one, I aim to inspire people, and I think coming here to get motivation and to remind ourselves that we're all sort of part of this collective effort to transform our society to something that's more sustainable and better for everybody is really the reason that we're all here. But when it also a very practical reason is knowing about how mission soil fits into the broader landscape and being able to connect it to the other ongoing initiatives and policies can really strengthen a proposal as well, and just show that you've diligently done your homework and have a strong team. So that's another practical reason. And so just a little bit more on that. Mission Soil is one of 5 EU missions, and you might hear from my accent, I'm from the US, so I'm an American, but also now with Belgian citizenship. But I really think Europe is setting the example right now for how countries can work together and create these almost moonshot-like programs that people, I think, can understand are grand enough and to meet these grand challenges that we do face. So by being here and you're all already becoming a part of this, and I'm glad to have everybody listening in, and I hope that you do get some inspiration as well as practical information from this. So a little bit more diving into the soil mission. These missions are funded under Horizon Europe, which is most of you, I'm sure, know the EU's main research and innovation program with an almost 100 billion budget over this 2021 to 2017 period. And so these EU missions have been launched under that. The mission soil itself was launched in 2021, along with quite a few other of the strategies that I'll mention today. And the primary goal of mission soil is to establish by 2030, 100 living labs and lighthouses to promote the sustainable soil management. And that includes both agricultural and rural areas, but also urban, as you'll hear more about today. And I'll get into these policies later in further slides. So just the importance of soil health. I think most people again know this, but it's really amazing how many services soils do provide, and they underpin so many parts of the economy as well, in different ways. But of course, they're a habitat for organisms. They really are a major vector for water to be cleaned and processed and stored. So it connects to climate resilience a lot in that ways. And 60 to 70% of soils right now in the EU are said to be characterized as unhealthy, so polluted, and or degraded, and that's a major problem that brings us together. These are a finite resource, so like many things in nature, it takes a long time to build up resilient soils, but they can be more quickly lost. So probably the biggest overarching EU policy is the Green Deal, and this is the main target is climate neutrality for the European continent by 2050. There are some big strategies that underneath this. So, for example, biodiversity strategy and the EU soil strategy is a part of that, as is the nature restoration law. There's farm to fork is probably the other most relevant in this context, and I'll talk more about that in the next slide. But soil health, as it really contributes to so many factors with tying into climate change, carbon sequestration. I mentioned already, it's how all the organisms from the micro to macro organisms that live in and depend on soil and things that grow in soil, and also this resilience to the increasingly extreme and frequent weather and climatic events, and lots more. So this EU soil strategy that's under this biodiversity officially, but was also presented by the Commission in 2021, and this is a figure from from the publication on the soil strategy that just shows how many different political and other grand strategies that the EU is working on, that most of which I've mentioned here, that it underpins. And the main aim is to bring EU soil into good conditions by 2050. And it included at this time this mandate for some sort of legislative approach. And so a soil health law, they called it at the time, but you'll hear more about that in the previous or in a subsequent presentation here. So farm to fork, spending a little bit of time on this one because it's, of course, very relevant. There's key targets that tie in that are good to be thinking about when considering your potential living lab as well, which is, again, I think the 2030 target is what they put on this, but reducing nutrient losses and reducing the use of chemical pesticides by 50%. Also promoting organic farming and agroecological approaches. The organic farming target is 25% of EU land under organic management by 2030. So there's still a ways to go there. I think the average is currently 11%, and only one or two countries surpass this 25% threshold. But you can learn more about it on a member state level as well, and the funding mechanisms in the Organic Action Plan. Finally, I think in terms of broad strategies, policies that we've all heard about, the sustainable development goals, there are several where soil obviously ties in, and I've listed them here. I won't go through and read it, but again, just to say that soil is this cross-cutting enabler for reaching many of these sustainable development goals. It has to be a part of the solution. Okay, but now back to the real topic at hand, so mission soil. As I've mentioned, the main goal and the key implementation tool is these living labs and lighthouses. So I've kind of depicted a living lab starting out and growing with the right partners involved into perhaps a lighthouse eventually. That's the idea of how practices on the ground are really going to be shared by the people who can put them into practice. But then to go along with that, it's really necessary to have a smart monitoring framework and level of standardization across the EU, so that people can compare where they're at and also monitor progress to make sure that we're heading in the right direction. So where we're at in this mission soil timeline, there's you can think of three main phases to this work program. So there were some projects that are closely linked to soil startup, which you've probably heard about. Also, there was prep soil and nations that were part of the 21 work program, and then soil startup. So there were first 25 living labs in this first wave. And then more recently, in phase 2, we had 20 more living labs join. So you can also learn about it on the Soil Hub and see the map as of the 45 now living labs. And so where we are today is this third wave and call 2025. So you'll see that there will be two more years, 26, 27 coming up ahead as well. And soil will be there to support throughout to eventually get to this 100 number. So I'll go fairly quickly because I don't have so much time over the specific funding opportunities. And there's a good news article on the soil website that gives links to all of the documents, the official documents and websites. I recommend it as well. So the first, there's going to be two main calls. The first is actually focused on so-called brownfield sites, so previously industrial or commercial areas that are now in decline, and looking for these nature-based solutions to help restore these areas and the soils in these regions. So this is a single stage submission, and there's one project foreseen under this one with a budget of 12 million euros. You can see the deadline here, and also these slides will of course be available for you to come back and to reference. The second call is a two-stage proposal with there's foreseen 3 projects within this soil health in continental, boreal, and alpine regions. And so there's in each 4 to 5 living labs per project. And I'll go into a little bit more detail in the following slides. But this one has a first stage deadline of 4th of September, and then the second stage is in February 2026. So same budget per project, but 3 projects foreseen to be funded under this one. So just to start to go into a little bit of what they really ask for on these calls, I think the key is here's like the requirements for the proposal, what they must contribute to is that co-creation on the finding solutions for these sort of sites, really engaging in the multi-actor approach, so involving this really relevant stakeholders from the beginning. And here's you can read the other criteria here, but I'm not going to just read all of it, but we provide with some of the requirements that you'll need to keep in mind, and always refer to the official topic description as stated here, which we provide links to. And for the second one, you need to clearly identify which of these biogeographical regions you're focusing on, and most of the living labs need to be within this given region, although it's not strictly that all of them if you're setting up 4 to 5 or more. But it can't include the brownfield areas just because of the overlap with the other call. Okay, so I think I want to conclude with that, and just to recap that there's many EU strategies that all include soil health because it's such a foundational element of sustainability, and that Mission Soil is really trying to be comprehensive in addressing this soil degradation. So combining research, innovation, policy, and public engagement. It's recognized that all of these are needed to be a success. So the call to action is become a part of this, and thank you for being here today with us. And I think a good way to start is by joining the soil community, checking out the hub. And so please don't hesitate to do that. And with that, I thank you.
Thank you so much, Tyler. A very nice presentation and a very, very good overview. I will now we are right on time. I will give the floor to Saskia Kestra, which will talk about the key objectives and targets of the missions. The floor is yours, Saskia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lorenzo. So yes, my name is Saskia Kees. I work for Climate Cake, but I'm here on behalf of presenting what the key mission objectives and targets of the soil mission.
Sorry, Saskia.
Sorry?
Sorry to interrupt you. You're cutting a little bit.
I don't know. It was just
Was
still
fine
here in
before.
the same way as I was.
Okay.
I don't know what to do.
Let's try again.
Okay, so we'll go again. So my name is Saskia Keestra. I work for Climate Kick, and here on behalf of the Soil Startup Project to present you the key objectives and targets of the soil mission. It's better now?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Thanks. So just to start and iterate a little bit of what Tyler already said. So why do we have a soil mission? Indeed, because healthy soils are really the basis of our existence on this planet. Basically, without soils we don't have food. Without soils we don't have a lot of other vital interconnected ecosystem services. So, but soil is also under threat. It's scarce, it's non-renewable on our lifetime time scale, and 60 to 70% of soils in Europe are considered unhealthy at this moment. So because of us mismanaging the soils as they are by pollution, urbanization, and the effects of climate change. So knowledge about how to better manage soils in a way that it can be sustainably done is needed. So this is the innovation path that we need to address, and to also bring the knowledge that we have to practice, because there is a lot of knowledge, but often not available for the people that actually need it. So soils related knowledge, monitoring and policy focus on a large extent to agricultural soils. However, there's also other soils that needs our attention. And that is also something that Tyler already presented in and I will reiterate a little bit later on. So, but the good thing is that, like, if you would go back 15 years, there was no soil mission. The soils were nowhere. If you would go back to the document that was presented in 2015 on the Sustainable Development Goal, it was very difficult to dig up the word soil even in this document. And so the fact that we have a soil mission now is a really big step to improve, but we are just on the starting road. So the soil mission has 8 specific objectives, and I will get into the difference between the specific and other type of objectives that the soil mission has. So the main goal, as was already explained by Tyler, is that we want to establish 100 living labs and lighthouses to lead the transition toward healthy soils in both rural and urban areas by 2030. Just mind you, 2030 is very close, but anyway, we can at least go on the road to try to get there. So the 8 soil mission objectives are to reduce desertification, conserve and increase organic carbon stocks, stop soil sealing and increase reuse of urban soils, reduce soil pollution and enhance restoration, prevent erosion, improve soil structure and enhance biodiversity, soil biodiversity specifically. And then these are the first 6 are more from a biophysical point of view, while the other 2 last ones, they're more from a social or economic point of view, or anyway, different, not biophysical. So to reduce our footprint outside of the EU on soils, and to improve soil literacy in society at large. So then, in addition to that, there are 4 building blocks, which they also call the operational objectives of the soil mission, because it's not only needed to do research. So you have the part here in orange, which is a research and innovation program. But it's also, so the living labs and lighthouses are here number 2 in the green square our corner. And then we have also knowledge needs when it comes to soil monitoring, and knowledge needs to when it comes to soil literacy, communication, and citizens engagement. So here is all put together. So you see in top, you see the main mission goal, the 100 living labs and lighthouses by 2030. And then you have these 8 specific objectives, of which the first 6 are biophysical and the last ones are not. Then the operational objectives, that also what is really important to realize that, of course, and this counts for anything that you do in which you make silos, which are targeting different objectives, that the risk of doing that, it makes it more comprehensible to do so, and it's needed to do so, but the risk of doing so is that people will work only in that silo. This is the same for the Sustainable Development Goals or the other goals that are similar to that. But the key thing to understand is that all these goals are connected, because they're all connected to the soil as a system. So, but what is, you can see here in this slide, so we have these 4 operational objectives, or how they were called the building block. They are all 4 needed to be addressed to reach each one of those specific objectives. And then the outputs of these activities will create outputs, and these outcomes then will feed again into the specific objectives to reiterate, to see, okay, what kind of knowledge needs do we still need after the stuff that we have already done. So here this diagram shows, is just an example of how that would then go for operational objective 1. So to build capacity and knowledge base for soil stewardship, so the research and innovation process. So you see here, so the outcomes would feed, the output would fit into these outcomes that then would go back again to the specific objectives. And that would then, of course, also need to be done for the other operational objectives, which to create the whole system. Just as an example, I picked out 2 specific objectives which are specifically important for what's been done in the soil mission living labs so far. So the first one is objective 2, conserve soil organic carbon stocks. So first of all, you have this baseline of where we are now. So at the moment, we have 23% of our area of land with low or declining carbon stocks, and an area of peatland of 4.8% that is degraded. So there are these targets that we would like to reach by 2030. In this case, the current carbon concentration losses on cultivated land to be reversed to an increase. So already going to 0 would be already a big task and a big success. But the target is to even reverse the concentration and start to sequester carbon in the soil. And the other one is related to peatlands and wetlands that are losing carbon because of draining. And then there's indicators to evaluate whether or not we have been able to reach those goals, which are soil organic carbon stocks, obviously, and vegetation cover. So for the other one that is especially very important in the south of Europe is to prevent erosion. So the area of land with unsustainable soil water erosion is about 25% at this moment. The target is to reduce the area of land affected by unsustainable erosion from 25 to sustainable levels, so to go to 0. And the indicators would be soil structure, absence of soil sealing, erosion and water infiltration, vegetation cover, and landscape heterogeneity. So then there's also obviously regional differences that are important. So this is coming from a report that in a paper that we made within the EGP Soil program, that's to say. So just you can go there and have a better look on what we found in terms of regional differences. But you could say that in the western part just as an example, in the western part of Europe, the combined effect of management practices on soil carbon was highlighted by the interviewees as being a very important element. In the north, the re-wetting of organic soils and also the effects of climate change on the degradation of organic soils. Then in the central eastern part of Europe, organic waste, how to do circular farming, and so forth, and in the south, especially erosion, soil organic carbon loss, and how could you actually do sequestration of carbon in your soils in the southern climate. So when we look at the current, the first wave of the soil mission soil living labs, you can see that on average about 4 objectives were addressed per living lab, but no one of the living labs is addressing all of the 8 specific objectives, which is fine. I think also this is not really a problem. And then if you see which soil parameters are considered, then most frequently monitored are the soil organic carbon, soil compaction, and nutrient availability. But soil sealing and organic contaminants are the ones that have not received too much attention so far. So then we have these two so that's why also because of the current situation where we are with the soil health living, the mission soil living labs, there is a need to address these voids, so to say, of types of living labs and types of soil mission of specific objectives, to also have more information and more living labs and lighthouses in those spaces. So this is why the current call for the living labs for soil remediation and brownfield redevelopment, and the living labs in the continental, boreal, and alpine regions, which also are underrepresented at the moment in the living labs as they are. So with that, I would like to thank you.
Thank you so much, Saskia. It was indeed a very nice presentation and analysis, and I hope it will help our future applicants in their application and submission. Thank you so much. Now let's keep our focus on the soil monitoring, especially now related to soil monitoring law. This is, I think, very relevant. And please, Caroline, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm going to use these next few minutes to talk about the soil monitoring law. My name is Caroline Heinzel, and before jumping into the details of the presentation, sorry, no, I clicked a few times too many. I'm just going to say a few words about my organization. Slides are going to go back in a second. I'm from the European Environmental Bureau, which is a civil society organization working on environmental issues. And now it would be helpful if I could go back. I'm sorry, but it doesn't let me control them anymore. Sorry, we'll just take a second. And another second, but otherwise it's not a problem if you don't see the slide. I will just quickly say a few words without you seeing, and that's fine. Yeah, so I work for the European Environmental Bureau. We are a membership organization of environmental citizens organizations across Europe. So we are represented in all of EU member states, but also beyond. And we work towards a better future for people and nature. And we do that by advocating for progressive policies. So this is our approach, and we are part of the Soil Startup Consortium. So just a few words. Before going into the soil monitoring law itself, you saw this picture already in Tyler's presentation as well, when he mentioned the soil strategy that was indeed adopted by the European Commission in 2021. Soil as such has been really an area in policymaking that has been really for a long time very neglected. And so when the soil strategy was adopted, this really helped to give a sort of direction of travel towards clear action on soils at EU level. And this came after previous attempts to create a law on soils have failed a decade ago. So this really helped pick up the work again and try this with a new approach. And as Tyler also mentioned, the EU soil strategy did include a commitment of the European Commission to come forward with a proposal for the first EU soil law, which was back then still called soil health law. But then when it was proposed and published, they changed the name to soil monitoring law. And that's why we talk today about the soil monitoring law. The European Commission came forward with this proposal for this law in 2023, so now about 2 years ago. And this really was a critical step, not only, as I said, because it was quite a difficult issue to legislate on in the past, but also because we see, for example, water and air being protected, while about soil, really there is a clear legal vacuum because soil protection is currently the result of other laws that really try to tackle other issues. And for this reason, soil policy across Europe is very incomplete and very fragmented, and never really tackled soil as an ecosystem as a whole, or soil health as a whole. For this reason, also we see that monitoring systems across all EU member states vary very strongly. For example, in some we see quite robust systems, in others we don't have any monitoring system at all. And we also see huge data gaps regarding some of the soil threats, and the data is also not comparable. And there are many issues like that. So this lack of an EU soil law has really been seen by many as a major reason for the fact that soils are in a degraded state as they are today, because they were not protected from pressures like intensive agriculture or pollution, for example. And so the soil monitoring law really aims to change that, even though it could have been much, much stronger and has also been quite watered down throughout the whole process. But it is a huge step forward because it will bring, for example, a definition of healthy soils. It will harmonize the monitoring frameworks and really help to create comparability of soil health data. And with that, it can also set kind of the fertile ground for concrete and coordinated action on soil health in the future. And here you will, on this slide, you see the different building blocks. I will go into them, I will zoom into them in the rest of the presentation, but so you have already an overview that there are different parts of the law. For example, a first one is the objective of the law as such, which is to achieve healthy soils by 2050. However, it is to note that it's a non-binding objective, it's more aspirational. Then there's a set of definitions, the whole building block on the monitoring system as such. And then there are also 2 building blocks, one on sustainable soil management and another one on contaminated sites. But before I go into these different building blocks, I'd like to say a few words around the legislative timeline. And I click forward, but it's not doing anything. There it is. So here you can see the whole process that the EU institutions went through in the last 2 years. So we see it was proposed 2 years ago, and since then the EU institutions have built their own positions and then entered negotiations with each other to find a compromise between their positions and to agree on a final law. And this really meant that they went through the legislative text, through the law, word by word, and tried to find compromises on all of these elements. So quite a huge negotiation process. And earlier this year, they managed to agree on a deal where institutions said, okay, this is something we can adopt this way. But again, this still has to be legally adopted. And even though this deal has been reached, this is not necessarily a given. So this still has to be adopted by the Council, who represents the member states, and by the European Parliament. And this is something that we expect to happen in the second half of the year, sometime between September and November, probably. And this is still something to really keep an eye on because this is not a given, because the negotiations have been extremely political around this file, and really marked by quite a challenging political climate, as you could see on my next slide. But again, I'm sorry, it's it is. So we really saw that the debates, even though it is quite a technical law, it is not it's not hugely ambitious. It does not really touch upon, it does not include very strong obligations and all of that, but still the debates were quite political, especially now, because the debates are really marked by this challenging political climate where there's very little appetite for environmental legislation as such. And so because of this reason, even though it was a very technical and extremely weak law from the beginning on, it was watered down even more throughout the process. And this was even strengthened by the fact that there was quite a lot of dis and misinformation surrounding this law in the last couple of months, particularly regarding these alleged bureaucracy, this alleged cost or management requirements for farmers. Even though if you really look at the text, nothing of that is written in there. So this really made things difficult of staying on the facts, of staying with science, if misinformation is spread around a law like that. And as I said, law still has to be adopted after the summer break. So fingers crossed. For living labs and the soil monitoring law does mention them specifically in the text. It is mentioned in the recital part, which is which gives more of a context and interpretational guidance, but it's not part of the key body of the law, but it's still important to put into context the provisions. And here we clearly see a link to funding and to the soil mission and its aim to establish these 100 living labs and lighthouses. And the law also specifically mentions that this knowledge from research and innovation has to be taken into account by the member states, and that they expect valuable contributions to come from the soil mission, in particular its living labs. Regarding the timeline for implementation, I want to share this with you because when designing the proposals and activities for living labs, I think it's very interesting to see where these when these monitoring structures will be built, when the data will be collected, and when the law will be revised. So you really, on this slide, you can see that there are that we expect the transposition into national law because it's a directive, so it needs to be transposed by 2028, and then we see 4 monitoring cycles every 6 years until 2050. And beyond. It will not finish then, but you can also see that there will be an evaluation and review of the directive in 2033. So I will come back to this, but I think that's also an interesting moment for your work. So now I'm going to zoom a bit more into the different building blocks of the law. The first and most important one is about the soil monitoring and assessment. And here I think this could also be interesting because we really see that the law sets a specific methodology. And so this can be interesting if you want to align your proposals or your work with what's in this law. And what the law really provides as information is that member states have to set up a framework to monitor soil health, and they have to base this framework on these annexes 1 and 2. And these annexes provide information on what kind of descriptors should be used to measure, for example, salinization or compaction. And they also provide some information on the thresholds per descriptor. However, these thresholds to define whether or not a descriptor is in good health or not will be mostly defined at member state level. So that will be quite a fragmented perspective across Europe. But yeah, these annexes exist. They provide interesting information on both the descriptors, but also the monitoring methodologies, the methodologies for the sampling survey, for the sorry, again, trying to change the slide. It is not reacting. There we are. So you can have a look at them if you want to have more detail around these different methodologies and if you want to align your work with that. Another important point is the availability of soil health data, I think also for your work. And I would love to tell you that there will be so much data available at a super detailed level, but unfortunately, this part was also weakened throughout the negotiations and got quite political. So here we will see that there is a digital soil health data portal that will be created. And so there will be access to data in georeferenced spatial format, but aggregated at a specific regional level only. But still, I think this can be very interesting, and the member states can also include the data from Horizon projects and Mission Soil projects in this portal as well. And we also see that member states have to store a subset of their soil samples in soil archives to make use of them for science. and the conditions and access and use still have to be defined, but this will also come. Another building block is around soil health and resilience, and this was one of the more controversial ones. We really saw this was extremely political and weakened down throughout the process, and was really stripped of most of the key obligations. I think the slide will come in a second. And here we see that countries have to support and encourage farmers, but this is really voluntary and really just some felicitation and support to improve their soil health and resilience. And they can do that, for example, by promoting access to advice and information, by providing training and capacity building, and also promoting research and innovation around the sustainable practice, soil management practices. So this was quite a big building block once, and now it is a very voluntary one, but I think it's still interesting because here also in the future research results will be extremely useful to define more in detail what these practices mean. And another important aspect was the land take mitigation principle. There is an article on this aspect as well. Originally, this article focused on land take, so really the transformation of natural or agricultural soils into artificial surfaces. And now the focus has been reduced on focusing only on soil sealing and removal. So soil sealing, for example, sealing soil for a parking lot, as you can see on the picture, or removal, which could be linked to construction or mining activities. And here, again, we see that this article provides some guidance where member states can consider to apply some of these principles, like avoiding the loss of soil ecosystem services when they seal soil, for example, by prioritizing already degraded soils, and also to aim to offset the loss of ecosystem services, for example, by encouraging the desealing of already sealed soils in return. Yeah, this is those are just a few principles that member states can apply. And the last building block, which is also interesting given the current calls, is the one on contaminated sites. And here we see that member states are obliged to identify, investigate, and manage contaminated sites. And for this, they have, I believe, 10 years to do that. From now, and really has to cover all contaminated sites across Europe. And for this, they also have some a list of measures that are indicative, but still that kind of help in designing the different steps for the risk assessment, but also a list of risk reduction measures. I will, of course, not go into detail here, but again, if this is something that's interesting for your activities, you can have a look at these annexes to see what how the EU is planning to approach this in the coming years. And there will also be a register of contaminated sites, also with georeferenced spatial data, and that will be public and easily accessible for the general public as well. So those are all the big building blocks of the soil monitoring law. One last word on the evaluation and review that I mentioned earlier, because this will happen, as I said, in 2033. So after 7.5 years, and here the Commission will reassess the progress that that has happened with this law to achieve the objective of healthy soils and potentially amend the law. So if, for example, here the Commission really wants to take into consideration the results also from EU research projects, this will be an important moment to also feed your results into these processes. I think it's an interesting political moment for that. So as a summary of what I've just told you, and again, the slide will come, the soil monitoring law is a really important opportunity for soil health in Europe. It is really a step forward that was difficult in the past, but it still needs to be adopted. It's not there yet. And as I said, this is really not a given. So just want to put here that any positive voices for this law at the moment and around the adoption will really make some change. And then I really believe that this law provides the political momentum, which is important for the soil mission also in general, but for the research project in particular, because now is the time that people talk about soil and not only in the scientific arena, but really in the political one. People are interested in this opportunity, in this issue, and this is a huge opportunity also to talk about project outcomes. And for future applicants, it might therefore also be interesting to align their Living Lab proposals around these timelines and descriptors and methodologies to really make sure to benefit as much of this process as possible. And of course, in turn, there will also hopefully be much more data accessible in the future as a result of this law. So I think this is an opportunity, and I hope this information was helpful for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Caroline. It was indeed a very nice information, and it is relevant to know also what is happening with the soil monitoring law to help us and help the future applicants provide a useful and a full application, which is also in line with what is requested not only by the European Commission, but also by the environment. So now let's have a very nice session on a practical example from Professor Thomas Bartzanas, who is from Agricultural University of Athens. He's the leader of the Greek Carbon Farming Living Lab, which has been funded by the Lilas for Soils project. I now give the floor to Professor Thomas. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Good morning also for me. I'm Thomas Bartzanas, a professor at the Agricultural University of Athens, and I'm the coordinator of the Greek Carbon Farming Living Lab in view of the Lilas for Soil project. First of all, just a brief about the Lilas for Soils. Obviously, it's a project funded under the Mission Soil topic. It will run for 5 years. And its mission is to develop 5 living labs across 6 countries, involving multiple partners and experts, stakeholders. And the most important is that the project will test carbon farming practices on about 100 demo sites in diverse farming systems and pedoclimatic zones. So we have established 5 national or region-specific living labs. One is a common living lab from Spain and Portugal. The other one is in France. The other one is in Italy. Of course, the living lab that I will present now in Greece, and we have one more in Israel. So Lilas for Soil focus on 19 carbon farming practices divided into 5 categories and strategies, each contributing to the goal of increasing carbon sequestration and reducing greenhouse gas emissions in agriculture. So we have the 5 main categories, as you can see here: peatland management, soil organic carbon, agroforestry, nutrient management, and livestock management. So through collaboration with farmers, researchers, industry, and the local authorities, and you can see how these 4 different groups of stakeholders working also in our Greek Living Lab, Lilas for Soils aim to accelerate the transition to healthy soils and contribute to standardized monitoring, reporting, and verification frameworks for future carbon markets. This is our core team in the Greek Living Lab. Obviously, Agricultural University of Athens coordinates the Greek Living Lab. Paraskevi Hadji is our project manager. We have on board in the core team the American Farm School, Perotis College with Chris Vasilikiotis. We have ETHEAS. ETHEAS is the Union of Greek Farmers Association. ETHEAS has on board more than 300 associations, both from crop and livestock system. We have also the region of Central Greece, and our human interaction specialist is Mrs. Dimitris Yiannopoulos. This is the core team, participate directly to the project, but as you can see here, the Greek Living Lab is not a region-specific Living Lab, but on the contrary, it's a national Living Lab. You can see here the first 10 demo sites, and we try to cover most of the Greek area, and this has been done because in Greece we have a diverse system, not only in what concerns different cultivations in different areas of Greece, but we have distinct climate zones with different needs, so we prefer to have a representation of most of it. So land use that we see is corn, cotton, soybean, legumes, cereals, vegetable species with camelina vineyards and olive trees. And soil health challenges that we seek in these demo farms are soil organic carbon loss, water retention, capacity quality, loss of agricultural productivity, decline in biodiversity, nutrient runoff, and litter. As you can see here, the Greek Living Lab initially, and when I say initially, I mean during the submission and the funding of the proposal, has already 10 demo sites here. Two of them, one of Agricultural University of Athens and one of Perotis. Our demo site is located here in the central of Greece. The Perotis is located in the central Macedonia. Are serving also as lighthouses because in these sites we have mature carbon farming practices and also we have a monitoring process. Now we are in the stage that we enrich our demo farms, we enrich our networks of farmers with the addition of 10 more demo farms that was due with an open call that was run in the previous two months. The open call has now closed. We have more than 18 submissions, so mean that we have more than 80 interest farmers interested to be involved in what Hellas for Sowing is doing in Greece. Unfortunately, we have to select only 10 of them. So in total, in Greece, as it is the case in the other living labs in the other countries participating in the Hellas for Sowing, we will have in total 20 demo farms. That's why 5 countries, 20 demo farms, we will have 100 demo farms for the Hellas for Soil project. The launch event for our Greek Living Lab was on last February, and in the launch event what we was trying to do is to involve also other potential stakeholders for the whole ecosystem. We have a general presentation of the Hellas for Soils, we explain the activities, we explain what we are foreseen to do in the next 4 years. And we see also a great interest of partners, and we conclude that this are the partners of the Greek Living Lab. Not all of them, of course, they participate directly to the project, but are the partners that they declare interest to be part of the team, to participate in different activities, workshop, to be formed of the outcome. So you can see here that we have partners in research and innovation. Agricultural University of Athens and Perotis School was initially on board, but we enrich with other research and innovation organizations. We have a government. Initially, we have also only the region of Central Greece. Now we have also our Ministry of Rural Development and Food. We have also other regions on board. Of course, with ETHEAS, we cover the whole national cooperatives in Greece because ETHEAS is the National Union of Agricultural Cooperatives. We have already 10 pre-selected farmers, and we add 10 more with the open call that is already closed. Business and industry, we have different types of participation here. Environmetrics and ENICERT are a focus on verification and reporting on greenhouse gas emission. Smart Agro Hub is a competence center. SPEL is a national organization of fertilizers, and the Farm Advisors is the union of advisors to the farmer. And also we have a natural environment and two similar projects running in Greece at the moment, Carbon Farming Hub and Carbonica, and we also want to create synergies and building bridges with them in order to exchange views and scenarios. Yes. After we establish the Greek Living Lab, we try to see how we can showcase the applications in the 2 lighthouses first. As I mentioned, we have 2 lighthouses. One is Agricultural University of Athens experimental site in central Greece, where we have different cultivators. It's a 7 hectares farm that served for these purposes with different practices for carbon farming. Also, we have monitoring devices and also we perform several activities there. The other lighthouse that we have The other lighthouse that we have is located in north of Greece, in central Macedonia. Is on Perotis College, and there they have also experimental sites, and they perform also some reporting and monitoring activities. We start already a field visit with farmers, meaning that with the farmers that we have on board, not lighthouses, but real commercial farmers, we make on-site visit, we make interviews of them, we explore with them if they use some carbon farming practices. Maybe this is the case. Some of them are already used, some of them are not used, but at the end of the day, all of them they will use some practice that leading to carbon farming and carbon sequestration, because our scope is to have a double monitoring of the carbon sequestration. This will be done by measurements on the field, on the site, but also using satellite data, and this is something that we like a lot in the Relapse for Soils, because we will have the possibility, the ability at the end of the project to have a very nice database with 100 farmers demo sites in the Mediterranean region, when the carbon sequestration will be monitoring on field in the lab, but also will make comparison on what the satellite data will show us. We have a soil monitoring protocol and enabling. This is unique, and this is common from all the living farming clubs that participate in the Relapse for Soil. Organize the existing database of pre-selected farms, organize the required database for monitoring, reporting, and identification. And the soil sample campaign will start on September, October. You can see here the different soil properties that we will record, the laboratory method that we will use, type of sample, pre-processing, and the reference. Of course, I will not go in detail in all of this, but the table and the presentation is available if for someone that will go more deep in this. Mission-specific objective: conserve and increase soil organic carbon stock. Soil health indicators focus on this are soil organic carbon stock and vegetation cover. Improve soil structure to enhance soil habitat quality for soil biota and crops. Indicators are soil structure, absence of soil sealing, erosion and water infiltration, and vegetation cover. Reduce soil pollution and enhance restoration with indicator of excess nutrients and salt. All the soil health indexes are water erosion managed through social organic carbon for improving the soil structure and water infiltration, field water capacity, soil texture. Wind erosion, controlled by soil texture and bulk density. Tillage erosion, controlled by soil texture and bulk density. Harvest erosion, controlled by residue management practices, soil organic carbon. Nitrogen surplus, potential mineralizable nitrogen, total nitrogen. Phosphorus deficiency, monitoring as part of total nutrient management, including nitrogen and pH. Phosphorus excess, monitored as part of total nutrient management, including nitrogen. And distance to maximize soil organic carbon level, current soil organic carbon levels compared to potential soil organic carbon levels. Challenges, what challenges we have seen when we are structure the proposal and prepare the proposal. First, and I think the most important, is how we can and we should categorize the different practices. And you can see here an example how make two groups with maintaining soil organic carbon from mineral soil, with practices like cover cropping, improved crop rotation, maintain grasslands without planting, no kill, conversion from arable land to grassland, organic farming, management of grazing land and grassland. And you can see also another group is nutrient management, improving nutrient planning, improving time and application, use of nitrification inhibitors, and combination with agronomic practices. And you can see here for both of these groups the co-benefits for farmers and the society. Also, another challenge that we put here in the presentation, just to show what we are facing now as we run the project, and most probably what we will face in the future, is that the soil monitoring and resilience directives and the legislations is continuously updating. This you can see here is very recent, from the March of 2025, but we have to have a close look on all this and adapt and regulate accordingly to the processes activity in our projects and activities. SWOT analysis from our case, strengths, government support, research and innovations. We have a great collaboration between universities and research institutions, as you can see here in the formation of the Greek Living Lab. Natural resources, Greece, diverse climatic and geographic provide favorable conditions for implementing diverse carbon farming practices. Community engagement, we have an active participator for local communities, and this was clear not only to the open call that we made for the formation of the Greek Living Lab, but also to the open call that we launched 2 months ago in order to extend the 10 demo sites with more 10. Weaknesses, financial constraint, limited funding and lack of voluntary carbon market restriction scaling of carbon farming practices. Technological adoption, limited adoption of advanced monitoring, reporting and verification technologies. Regulatory challenges and the skill of gaps. We have shortage of skilled professionals and training programs specifically tailored to carbon farming techniques and practices. Opportunities, of course, the funding, branding, growing consumer demand for sustainable produce and agricultural products, partnerships, Living Lab methodology for problem solving in real life settings, and technology advancements, innovation in agri-tech and data analytics supporting carbon sequestration and soil management. And for the threats, climate change impacts, increasing climate variability and extreme weather events pose risks to the effectiveness and sustainability of carbon farming practices. Economic stability, economic fluctuations and market uncertainties may affect funding and investment in long-term carbon farming projects. Land use conflicts, competition for land use between carbon farming, traditional agriculture and urban development could limit expansion opportunities, and productivity, uncertain yields and economic viability may challenge long-term adoption. And I think I'm coming to the last slide of the presentation. Yes, with our vision. So our vision is to integrate carbon farming as a core practice in Greek agriculture by conserving and enhance soil organic carbon stocks, ensuring the restoration and preservation of soil health for future generations, while promoting economic sustainability and social inclusion through collective efforts of government, research, industry, and society. That's all for me, and of course you can connect with us, you can reach out both for the Greek Living Lab here, but also you can have a view in the general project, and you can also have information from the other Living Labs in the other Mediterranean countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Thomas. It was very nice and also to see some very practical example from already funded Living Labs. This gives us a touch of practicality, let's say, for future applicants. I will now go to our Q&A sessions. We are answering your questions in the box. I think it's relevant. I can give the floor to Dolinda, which will guide us into this session. Thank you.
Yes, we have already answered to some of the question, but we have received one question that if Thomas would like to answer live, I think it's going to be relevant for everyone. Yes. So the question is, do you have the cooperation with the farmers and the agencies already existing, or you build all of them from scratch? And also, were you tackling the same soil challenges in all the living labs and lighthouses?
Yes, thank you very much. The key in order to have the farmers on board with us was the collaboration with the ETHEAS, our national unit. With the 8 first farmers that are on board, and I mean 8 because the other 2 are the lighthouses from Agricultural University of Athens and Perot schools. So initially, during the preparation and submission of the proposals, we have 8 farmers, 8 farm associations. That with some of them we are working together. ETHEAS obviously work with all of them together. So we have 8 during the submission phase when we have a deep discussion with them in order to explore if they follow some carbon farming practice, if they want to be part of this project, because if they will say yes, that means they will have to follow the same cultivation protocol and the same crops for at least 2 to 3 years in order to have the data. The other 10 are come due to an open call. This open call has been presented during the kickoff of the Greek Living Lab on February. We have received a lot of input, we have received a lot of interest, and then we have a scoreboard in order to select out of 80 initial interest, 10 that will make the total 20 of the farms. The other part of the question concerning the same soil challenge, no, we are not the same, because we are not restricting to a one only region in which maybe the soil challenges are the same, but we have demo sites and farms from the north of Greece till the south of Greece, from east to west, and even the Creta Island participate on this with 1 and maybe 2 farms after the open call results. So we have a mix and a variety of soil challenges to be addressed.
Thank you so much. So I think we have received some more questions. Let's see if, so one of the question is it possible to use phytoremediation to reduce environmental contamination in living labs? I'm not sure if some of the speakers would like to answer this question. Otherwise, we can also come back to you by writing.
I think I would know why not. Is a nature-based solution that can be used to improve water quality. It's not necessarily only soil, obviously, but it's yeah, it's a plant. It's as you anyway. I think that can be part of a living lab. Should not be only this, but yeah, I wouldn't know why that wouldn't be able to have part in it.
Thanks. And yeah, and then we have also I've also seen the request to share the contacts and to engage with the above all with the Mission Soil Living Lab. So we remind you that we have created in the Soil Hub an atlas where we showcase all the Mission Soil Living Labs. And on the hub, is it also possible to connect and to interact with all the users, so also the Mission Soil Living Lab. So we then we invite you to register on the hub and to connect with the other stakeholders. I think at the moment there are no more questions. But we still invite you to share your questions also in the help desk. So as I mentioned before, we have set up a specific help desk to support applicants in preparing their application. So to clarifying doubts on the topics or on the living lab concept, even though we cannot review specifically your individual proposal, we can still guide you on the general proposals development. So the link of the hub, you will find it in the chat, but also in the slides. So if no more questions are now addressed to the speakers, I can then move to the last part of this presentation, because we would like to remind you that that the collaboration of with soil is expected from all applicants. So as you can see here, this is taken from the topics description. So the topic number 1 and the topic number 1, 2 stages, as soil is supporting applicants only for the preparation of these 2 topics. We also would like to remind you that the funded Mission Soil Living Labs are expected to collaborate with soil, and so to help you prepare your application and dedicate specific time and budget to attend the trainings and fulfill all the surveys or attend the events. We have already explained all these steps in the webinar that was implemented last week, and that is available already on the website. And in this webinar, with the participation of the representatives of DG Agri and the representatives of REA, we have explained the Living Lab concept. We have explained the specific funding opportunity to set up Mission Soil Living Labs. And there is also a specific presentation on the financial support to third parties. But also there is a presentation on the expected activities that applicants should consider while they are preparing their application, and how to make sure that they dedicate specific time and budget to collaborate with soil. And so you can see the webinar, but here you can see as a summary the online activities that you can already consider in your application. So starting from onboarding survey to provide the data that we will use then to create the hub, so the profile of the Living Labs on the hub, or to gather what are your interests and maybe your challenges that then we can address in the other activities that we offer. We will organize online training that all the Living Labs are requested to attend. And so you can see how many time you are expected to dedicate to attend this training. Then there is a monitoring evaluation survey that we ask all the Mission Soil Living Labs to fulfill each year to help the Living Labs to understand what are their weak points, and so what are the, let's say, the areas where more support is needed to continue the growth of the Living Labs. Then we, of course, expect the Living Labs to keep their profile on the hub updated, and so to engage on the Soil Hub community area. But then we will also, starting from 2026, set up soil working groups depending on the Living Labs interest. And so some time will be needed for the Living Labs to exchange and to be active on the working group. And then we also invite Living Labs to present we want to give visibility to the Living Labs, so we invite them to the event, and we will also ask them in the future to share their best practices starting from 2026. But then also we have we will organize, and we are organizing in-presence activities as the annual engagement events that we organize each year alongside the Mission Soil Week. And so for attending this event, it is necessary that the applicants consider in their application some travel budget and some time to attend this event. Then we organize each year also at the boot camp. And so again, this is a training that we organize to to train living labs on different topics depending on their need. And again, some budget, travel, and personal is expected to be considered in your application. And then, depending on the interest of the living lab, we also organize site visits, and we can facilitate in some way the organization of the site visit if the living labs wants to host it, or if they want to visit other living labs. But in both cases, some budget should be considered in your application. And then, of course, knowledge exchange session are also to be considered to exchange with other stakeholders in the community. And thank you for this. Again, we invite you to review the recording for having a better understanding on all the activities that are offered by Soil for the Mission Soil Living Labs. And then I will leave the floor to Lorenzo for the last part of the presentation.
Thank you so much, Dolinda. Now for the last part, I will briefly go to what will happen in the next webinar, which will take place on the 30th of June, same time as today at 10 Central European time till 11:30. We will focus on designing impactful living labs and consortia. So we will discuss about what is a living lab, a key concept, key approaches, tools, as well as some insights on how to better structure a consortium involving the right stakeholders and actors. And finally, we will have, as today, like today, a practical example from already funded living labs. Please remember to create your profile on the Soil App platforms. It will allow us to match with other stakeholders as well, and get in contact, get in touch with us, as well as with relevant resources that will be useful for you. Yes, this I already told you. Meet the Soil Hub users in the platform. You can access capacity building webinar series, thematic events, news, best practices, as well as fact sheets. And so join us. Thank you again for joining this session. I hope we will meet you, everybody, to the following webinar on the 30th. And thank you so much again. Hope this has been useful for you. Let's keep in touch. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.